Good morning. It's very early here in the Sugarfreedom office. I'm Catherine Gordon, and I want to talk about transitioning from carnivore to Sugarfreedom. So there's kind of a couple of different stages. Carnivore to keto would be keeping the carbohydrates to 20 grams or less per day. Have I got glare in my glasses? I'm gonna go ahead and take them off. Going Sugar Freedom, the original Sugar Freedom program, which I wrote to describe how I overcame obesity and sugar addiction, that's actually a little higher in carbohydrate. One of the reasons I think some people get so shocked about this idea of going on a meat-based diet, where for me it was just meat and dairy products, so basically all animal-based as opposed to plant-based, is what happens if I decide to transition back to just a sugar-free diet or adding back in vegetables and fruits. And so the reason why I'm doing this experiment is to demonstrate why. And also, I wrote Sugar Freedom, and people are still, thank you very much, getting Sugar Freedom and joining the program. So I just want to make sure that Sugar Freedom program continues to be effective and continues to work. And the good news is that it is continuing to work. So I'm going to address some of the fears that people have of transitioning back, adding back in vegetables and fruit, and what happened to me. Again, to go into why I'm doing this, there are 3 doctors who have inspired me over the years. Dr. Atkins, of course, the original Atkins diet, keto, low carb, Dr. Blake Donaldson, who wrote Strong Medicine, and also Dr. Altshuler. And once I get this up, I'll get links to their books and their PDFs in this video. I'd like to go through the 3 of them. Number 1, Dr. Atkins. If you're familiar with the Atkins diet, it begins with the induction phase, which is ketogenic. 20 grams or less of carbohydrate per day. And then it goes on to something called OWL, or ongoing weight loss, which is a little bit higher in carbohydrate, and then you get to the lifestyle plan. I'll move on to Dr. Donaldson. Dr. Donaldson was Strong Medicine, which came out in the 60s, literally is saying, I want you on fatty meat and water until you reach your goal weight, and then we begin to add back foods. Kind of similar to Atkins, correct? Anyway, but what Dr. Donaldson said to his patients, and there are many examples of his patients in his book, I'll link to the PDF, and you can also buy the book on Amazon. Of course, it's much more expensive. At any rate, the concept was, what he told his patients is, I need you to get to your goal weight, and then we're going to test you with 4 different foods. And if they immediately started to go back up, it would be like, uh-oh, nope, we're going back to fatty meat and water. Very similar to what Atkins did, we're going to put you on induction, and then we're going to go to ongoing weight loss, and we're going to see what foods we can add back. And then finally, Dr. Altshuler, this is a much more contemporary book, I think it just came out 2 years ago. He's talking about eliminating pretty much everything but meat in order to manage not just weight, but he had insomnia and anxiety. And the same thing with him, you go 30 days, add them back, and if the symptoms come right back, you go another 30 days, and then see about adding foods back. And then there's a final one, Fiber Menace, and I don't have that information here, but it's the same thing. This is a Russian doctor talking about how we're getting too much fiber, the Metamucil, all this kind of stuff is actually causing our digestive problems, and he does the same thing, elimination, until relief of symptoms, and then reintroduction of other foods. So here I am, layperson, Catherine Gordon, doing this because I love to act and sing and dance, so I need good memory, I need to have a body that isn't in pain, that can move around a lot, and I have to reduce inflammation because you can sing if you're inflamed. So what happened, and what did I add back? I added back a salad, a serving of above ground vegetables, and a serving of fruit each day. So here's what happened. Day 1, really interesting, the fruit that I added back was a Granny Smith apple. And I was really shocked because I didn't realize, I thought because Granny Smith apples are tart, I thought they were lower in carbs, and actually they're kind of one of the higher carbohydrate fruits. Well, that's kind of a shock. And so I had the Granny Smith apple, I had a salad, and I had a serving of broccoli. So I'm definitely over Atkins induction. This is not what you would call a ketogenic amount of carbohydrates. It's higher than that, probably more like 30 or 40 grams as opposed to 20. And I did experience some elevated heart rate, a little bit of headache, a little bit of swelling, and a little bit of weight gain, because I am weighing to see if it's causing me to gain weight. And I was like, okay, that's day one, that's what's going on. But here's what's really interesting. The next morning, I checked my blood ketones. I expected to be like trace or no ketones detected in my blood. Not the case, 0.3. Now 0.5, if you've got your, I wish I had my Keto Mojo. This is why I do these rehearsals. I'll make sure that I have that unit to show you. 0.5 is considered nutritional ketosis, 0.5 millimolar of blood. Ugh. Anyway, I have to go back and get this better, but you'll understand as we go on. So 0.3, which means I'm still generating ketones. And I think that's the important thing for this video, is that even though I had added back a serving of fruit, a salad, and a serving of broccoli, I was still generating ketones the next morning. Aha! However, and this is really important, I am still intermittent fasting. I have found, and I've been doing this for years, that the 16-8 just works beautifully for me. So I have breakfast and I have lunch, and then I fast until breakfast again the next morning. So I'm taking in the carbohydrates, but I'm still doing the intermittent fasting, and as a result, I'm still generating ketones in the morning. The next day, I went a little bit higher, and I had a pear, and it wasn't just a pear, it was like an 8-ounce pear, so significant carbohydrates. And again, I had a large salad with some tomato and some cucumber in it, and then also zucchini and white mushrooms. So that morning I got up and 0.6 on my keto monitor in nutritional ketosis. So I think this is what's really surprising to me, is that even though I was having a significant amount of carbohydrates, and I actually did a list here. So the pear, unbelievable, 8 ounces of pear, and I weighed it and it was 8 ounces, 35.1 grams of carbohydrates, plus the salad, so only about 5 grams of carbohydrate there. And then the zucchini and mushrooms, probably another 5 grams. So about 45 grams of carbohydrate. And if you're a low carb keto person, and certainly if you're carnivore, that is a lot of carbs. So here's what happened. The next day, I was still in nutritional ketosis, 0.6. Didn't gain any weight stayed the same. And I think a lot of people's fear when they make this transition to carnivore, to keto, or to low carb is, oh my gosh, am I gonna suddenly bloat and blow up? No, I didn't. The swelling was gone, certainly the heart rate was back to normal, but here is what happened. That afternoon, I got definite cramps. Nothing really, happened trouble-wise. I was out, but it hurt. There was cramping, there was bloating, and so there was some pain from that, which really isn't surprising because I'm jumping from trace of carbohydrate a day to, wham, almost up to 50 grams of carbohydrate, and that was the consequence. Even though day one I hadn't done as much, day two, the pear, the salad, the zucchini, the mushrooms, that was just too much for my digestive system to handle. And it was like, what are you doing, woman? And cramps. So, but yesterday was day 3. And what did I have? I had cantaloupe as my fruit in the morning, much lower in carbohydrate. I'll tell you how much. So a cup of cantaloupe is 12.7 grams per serving. So actually you could do that and still stay in ketosis and have, stay, in that traditional 20-gram ketogenic. But I'm having a larger serving. I'm weighing it. So I'm having 8 ounces, and that was 18.5 grams of carbohydrate in that serving of cantaloupe, 8 ounces. That's a big serving. And then I also had a salad. And then my vegetable yesterday was spinach. And boy, I felt good yesterday, feeling good this morning. And this morning, my ketones, 0.5, still in nutritional ketosis, even though I'm having a serving of fruit, a large salad, and a serving of vegetables. Oh, how much meat am I eating? Well, not quite as much as I was eating when I was just carnivore. That's another reason why I'm doing this. I'm trying to see Michael Anthony, who has a channel on YouTube, who kind of inspired me to go carnivore. Wonderful, wonderful demeanor from this gentleman, and of course Dr. Sean Baker and all of that. But one of the things that happened when I went meat-based is you really start to understand your dependence on the animal creatures on the earth. I depend on meat and eggs in order to live and to thrive. And you really start to think about what is my impact on the planet, and you start to think about everyone on the planet, and you start to think, okay, if we all require meat to thrive, how are we all going to be able to thrive together? And we are lucky enough to live in an area that's semi-rural, and we have an acre that's cleared, and we have some acreage, and we do have space to grow vegetables and even space to have some fruit trees. And so I'm thinking, I know that I am able to produce some food on our land. And I'm wondering, can I put together a nutritional program where I'm getting my meat locally, and actually the meat processing plant is local, the animals are local, and can I also provide some food locally, going into this idea of being responsible for the food that I eat. And so I want to see if I can eat the fruits and vegetables that I could acquire locally. And here locally, we have apple orchards, we have pear orchards. Certainly in California, probably the citrus fruit obviously isn't very far away. So this is why I'm doing this transition back. And this is what happened. Yes, I did have some cramping on the day that I ate significantly more carbohydrates than I normally do, but I'm feeling really good this morning, and the little bit of weight that I gained has now come back off. I'm not swollen, I'm not cramping. I did have, some tiny little blemishes come out on my face, and so it seems to be working. How long am I going to do this? I'm going to continue on with this. It seems to be working. I'm adjusting my carbohydrates, adjusting how much I eat, and will continue to report back. One of the ways that I got to carnivore years ago was Vince Gironda's steak and egg diet. And of course, he was a bodybuilder. He had Vince's gym in Studio City, California. And he was basically using his steak and egg diet to help his weightlifters lean out for physique, for personal attractiveness, and he would go back and forth. They weren't constantly eating just steak and eggs. And I'm thinking in terms of lifestyle, I would like to find that kind of balance between definitely eating meat, but also filling it out with other foods and seeing if I can go forward that way. I managed to overcome obesity and stay at a normal weight for almost a dozen years now, coming up on a dozen years. And I'm just trying to find a way to go forward and to keep doing that. And I hope, whether you struggle with sugar addiction or overweight or obesity or joint pain or anything else, just thank you for watching and giving me the opportunity to share my story with you, because it really does help. One more thing I want to talk about is appetite. One of the things that carnivore is amazing for is stopping the cravings and stopping that extra appetite. I find that sugar cravings stop when I get rid of sugar, grains, and vegetable oils, but the food thoughts stop when I go carnivore. The truth is that adding back one serving of fruit and adding back the vegetables, sometimes now I find myself thinking about eating. And so when I do that, I go to practicing my music, playing my ukulele, doing some writing. Of course, I have work and rehearsals and dance. So some thoughts about food are beginning to creep in, and I will keep you up to date on that. But they've been very manageable, either by doing something I enjoy or quite frankly, by praying. And so I'm managing that pretty well. And that's it for now. And of course, I will do a more traditional video adding pictures of the foods that I'm eating and how many grams of carbohydrates. Yeah, so I think I'm ready to do this video. Of course, I'm heading to work in a little bit. Gonna have my breakfast this morning, and I'm going to be doing strawberries, eggs, and leftover pork chop, and then salad at lunch. And I'm gonna go to the grocery store, so I'll probably have a steak. and then a vegetable, and then I'll be done. I usually try to be done with all my eating by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'll be fasting again until morning. See you soon here on the Sugar Freedom channel. Check out the other videos about carnivore and keto and all of those good things, and just make it a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.